Today we're diving back into trading cards, but we'll start at the beginning this time with the first trading cards that I ever collected. Pokemon. In here are all the Pokemon cards that I still own. Many of them have gone away at this point, and you're probably looking at it and going, why is there paper still taped to this? At some point, this was decorated. I believe we shared a collection, my siblings and I, but we got real into Pokemon when it came out. I remember us going to Pokemon Night at the Borders bookstore in order to trade cards with other kids who had Pokemon cards. Pokemon is where it started, and if you followed along, I made a whole other video about what the games did, but the cards were long before that. I didn't get a video game for several years, but as a kid, before I was doing anything, I remember starting karate when I was 10, but before that, we were trading Pokemon cards. And we would play Pokemon cards, we would battle against each other, we would try to collect them. We kept a collection going. Eventually, it moved into this binder so that you could see them. And I mean, we collected through various. These are more modern ones, which I say that as just compared to some of the older ones. Like, look at all the ones we got here. Some classic old Psyduck. There was a trading card game. I remember getting that when we did have a Game Boy. We played that. Basically just flipping through. These aren't, you'll notice there are quite a few gaps in here for various reasons. Some of them are because the cards have been lost to time. Some of them are because the cards weren't there to begin with. Like, look, we'll get to this in a minute. I wonder what could be missing from here. I do mean to move these out of here at some point. I actually, in the very back, the last page was the Maple Story cards that I went over last time when we talked about trading cards. Holographic Electrode, look at that. Oh man. Oh wow. I didn't really plan on going through any of these specifically. I was going to wait and go through some of the other ones more one by one, but look at that. From the Pokemon the movie. I remember going and seeing that movie in theaters, and you got a special card with it, and this was one of them. There was another card that we got. I think it was a Mew? Man, bringing back memories. I filled this up with some of them. These pouches don't really last to the testament of time. These sleeves that are in the... Back on this side now. They wound up... The binder has not really held up very well. The sheet protectors here that we've got don't really hold up, especially when you stuff far more than one card in there because you've got duplicates. At some point, I do mean to go through and remove all these cards, organize them, sort them, mix everything back up, and then put them into a box for long-term storage, as well as some silica packets to kind of make sure no moisture ever gets to them. Oh man, I remember when they started doing that and they started putting out specific trainers. We got Lieutenant Surge's Firo there. Oh man. Anyway. I always liked the ones that were more drawn than like the 3D artwork. Those were always, they just kind of looked weird to me. They looked more like made out of clay. I don't think I was real into claymation. Somebody scribbled all over that one with a crayon. But this is where it really started, and I wound up getting into several types of trading cards, whether just for collecting, in order to actually play them if they had a game component to them. We've got plenty of stuff like that to talk about in future videos for various ones. There's my favorite. That's my guy. Grova. Did not like what he evolved into, but I played through that one, got that Pokemon, and left him as he was, gave him the Everstone, played through the whole game, and got him to level 100 back on my Ruby thing. I made a whole video about Pokemon playing the games. They mean so much to me, obviously. I've done all of that, but this obviously is where it started, with the cards, collecting all of them, opening a pack for the first time. I mean, I'm not alone in that. I know so many people also. At some point, somebody wrote poop and then a bunch of frowny and smiley faces on the inside of this binder. Now, as you notice, there were spots missing, as I mentioned, something like that. At some point over the last 2 probably years, I thought about it, and I had this idea, much in the vein of everything else that I'm doing, wanting to preserve, to collect, to be able to talk about it for the future. I pulled out a lot of the rares, and I saved them, and put them in my treasure chest, which is obviously locked for protection. Did I write this upside down? Oh, it opens from... So at some point, especially over the last year or two, I wound up going through, I think we had a Thanksgiving live stream where everybody, all of my family, we all got on a Discord call and we're just playing games, and I was like, oh, let's go down memory road and remember all of our Pokemon cards. And that's where all of this came from. I wound up taking them out, picking out the really rares or anything that held significance, value-wise probably not monetary. I don't ever care about what these cost, or what they're valued at. More of sentimental value, and I put them into these card protectors. So this is something that we're going to go through here. Oh, wow. Look at Machamp. Holographic Machamp First Edition. What I didn't do in my research, and I should have, I'm realizing now, I should have actually gone through and looked at what kind of things. I know them for other types of trading cards that I got way more into as an adult and I was able to look at. I can obviously tell this is a first edition because it says first edition on there, unless that's fake, but I don't actually know anything about, when these came out or anything. I should have done better research on that. I'm a little disappointed in myself, but...
Michael from the future here. Yeah, that's really not going to cut it, man. Come on now. The whole point was doing research in order to talk more about them. So, during the edit, we've done the research now, and it'll be shown on screen, as much information as I could gather about these particular cards.
Either way, we can still go through and appreciate them. I've got a story at least about one of them. I'm going to look on it on this camera over here so you can see a little bit closer, a little bit better. Oh, Promo Eevee, look at that. I remember this one. Ooh, look at the Moltres. That's so cool. I really like what they did there. I'm sure there's a term for that as to what kind of holographic that is, where the actual image isn't, but the whole card is. Oh yeah, holographic Zapdos. Yep. I remember the birds were a big deal, trying to collect all the legendary birds. Lapras EX. I don't remember what the EX was for. That was for another thing that they did later on. Evidently, I must have bought another pack of Pokemon cards at some point after getting some of the original ones. We were collecting some of the original ones, I'm sure, given that stuff, but at some point they clearly changed to EX. There we go. I guess I never got a holographic Articuno, but we do have the non-holographic one. That makes sense. We had the Pikachu from the movie. Looks like it's got some damage there and stuff. These have not exactly been well cared for, but it's the same promo. Got the same kind of promo stamp to it in the gold foil as the other one. Rocket Scyther. Ooh, look at that. Scyther was always one of my favorites because it would evolve into Scizor, who just the design of that one. Ah, yes, Jolteon, of course. Those evolutions, still to this day, I want to collect them all. They're so cool. Oh, holographic Ninetales. Yep, original Ninetales. Good stuff. Yeah, I remember playing this one. I remember specifically playing this one because I wound up using it in a battle, and somebody got really upset that I had the holographic version. That was when I think the first time they went, dude, you just keep that in a deck? You don't, put that away somewhere so it doesn't get damaged? And I learned that cards could have value. Almost to the end here. These marks the divider. These are something else. Oh, Surfing Pikachu. There we go. This is a promo. I don't even remember where we got this one. Maybe from another movie? And then the last one. I did leave this one for last because I know about it. This was one that I opened myself. I cannot remember most of where these cards came from. Some came from trades, some came from other kids who were done collecting, some came from various purchases here and there, something like that. But I remember opening the pack with this one in it. Holographic Charizard. Remember I said, oh, this one's missing, we'll talk about that one later. Gee, what could it be? It was the holographic Charizard. This was one that I opened myself in a pack. I remember going to a neighbor's house. Now, why did we go to a neighbor? We went down the street to play with a neighbor kid, and for some reason I had an unopened pack of Pokemon cards, and I opened it and found the Charizard. This was the one that we were searching for, the Holy Grail. Everybody wanted it. I'd seen it at the Borders night with other kids, but I'd never had it for myself. And having the holographic, especially this thing. Now, I'm guessing this is not first edition because it's got the little 2 right there, but still, this one I remember the most because we opened it up. I opened the pack and just immediately started flipping out and talking to my sister who I was walking with, going, I got the Charizard. I got the Charizard. This is the one. And then going, well, I can't go play with this kid. I have to get this home. And like putting it back and holding the entire pack and then just walking up. Walking back up the hill to get to our house to go immediately put it away so that nothing would happen to it. I don't think I've ever walked that carefully and held something so tightly in my life before. And here it still is, the Charizard. That's really it. I didn't have a whole much to do with this kind of stuff, but like Pokemon cards, right? We collected them back in the day. They were really cool. Moved on from these to collecting other cards that we'll talk about in a future video, but these were the ones back in the day. The rush of opening a pack for the first time, seeing what you got, seeing if you could collect cards if we had them from the game, being able to battle with them with your friends. It was a whole experience, and anyone else who was opening Pokemon cards as a kid knows the thrill, the addiction, the feeling of that, the randomness of what you might get. Maybe you'll get something really rare. It still is very much a thing today. I know that there are several people who are opening Pokemon cards as I speak. But yeah, all those reasons, of course many more, just glad I always hung on to these. Can't believe this one is as good of shape as it is, because some of the cards I collected did not wind up being in good shape, but the binder did what it was supposed to. It did keep them safe all these years. We've had these for so many years now. Yeah, this is something that I like.